Hey, all you marketers out there, if you are at a manufacturing organization and you supply products to distributors that then sell them out to the community, then you probably have programs for those distributors. Both sales and marketing are involved in those. And sometimes those programs just aren't very effective. And so today's guest will walk you through how her organization went through the process of revamping their distribution program, some of the lessons learned, how they got different stakeholders involved, and gives you a preview into some of the aspects of the program that are working the best. Let's do this.
Welcome to Content Marketing Engineered, your source for building trust and generating demand with technical content. Here is your host, Wendy Covey.
Hi, and welcome to Content Marketing Engineered. On each episode, I'll break down an industry trend, challenge, or best practice in reaching technical audiences. You'll meet colleagues, friends, and clients of mine who will stop by to share their stories. And I hope that you leave each episode feeling inspired and ready to take action. Before we jump in, I'd like to give a brief shout out to my agency, True Marketing. True is a full-service agency located in beautiful Austin, Texas, serving highly technical companies. For more information, visit truemarketing.com. And now, on with our podcast. Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Content Marketing Engineered. I'm joined today by Emily Ting. She's the marketing specialist at CCS America. Welcome to the show, Emily.
Thanks for having me, Wendy. It's so good to see you again.
You too. Let's see, the last time we saw each other was at the Automate trade show, and you had the coolest demo. What was the demo?
It was what we call air hockey logistics. Logistics, air hockey, same thing. But we're a machine vision lighting company, so we build lighting specially designed to help, cameras detect whatever they're trying to see in an automated inspection. So in this case, we were showing this particular light that's really good at, capturing or, lighting scenes that are from far away and also moving really fast. So we, set up an air hockey table, and the puck had a little QR code on it. And, no matter how quickly you were hitting it, the light was bright enough to be able to help the camera see, oh, this is what the QR code says.
I love demos that perfectly show off the product or solution, but are also so fun to play with. And I have fond memories of air hockey from like middle schools. That was a personal win for me at the trade shows. And Casey had no chance against me. So that was great too.
You guys got really into it.
Well, let's start with, before we dive into our subject today, let's just real quick introduce yourself. So you're the marketing specialist. What is a day in the life? Tell me a little bit about your career progression. Yeah. What do you do?
Yeah. Well, this is, it was my first job out of college, right? Hiring, the new grad as your like junior marketing role, basically. But CCS is actually a Japanese company. I just happened to, start out for like 6 months at their US office before they, shipped me off to Japan for 3 years. And that was for training. And then I came back after COVID, basically take over or, start the marketing program that didn't really exist before I joined. So that has involved like handling all the trade shows, all that good stuff, but also, building other things that didn't necessarily exist, like a regular social media presence or, non-trade show events and, the program that we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah. How much autonomy does the America division of CCS have versus the corporate?
I think a pretty high degree of freedom, actually. I think part of that is just, our leadership also trusts us a lot, which is great. They know that, we're not going to do anything too crazy. And when we do something, we do it well. We execute it well. So they buy into our ideas pretty easily. And, we're a bit unique, our situation, because we have two sister companies that are headquartered in Europe, but we are, their like only representative here in the US. So, in a way we're, we have to like market all three brands at the same time. So it's kind of like doing marketing for all of them.
Yeah, yeah. Sounds busy. And
Yeah.
do you have a marketing team, Emily, or are you a marketer of one within the America organization?
Yeah, so there's me, our technical marketing manager, basically just like full-time SME specifically for marketing. It's great. I highly encourage any company out there where if you have, somebody who has like the technical background, but they need to, they want to switch gears, highly recommend going this route. It's great. And then both of us report to the director of sales and marketing.
Okay. Yeah, got you. Okay, well, today we're talking directly to you, manufacturing organizations who utilize distributors as your channel. And, a lot of you out there have different programs for distributors, co marketing, different ways in which you collaborate. And gosh, I think this is such a great topic to have on the show. Emily, why do you think this is an important topic to focus on?
I think you already like hit on one of the big things is like lots of us are selling through distribution. It in many cases a majority of your business is coming through distribution. So whether you're, meeting your sales targets on the regular or not is, largely dependent on your distributors working hard to sell your product or selling a lot of your product because they're a really effective distribution channel like that we call it marketing. They're as important as your website or your social media or your paid media presence, and or so it's all about how you can make that as effective as any of those other channels to help you get in front of people who will use and buy a lot of your product. And I think especially, now that this has come up in industrial trends a lot lately is how the workforce is aging out effectively. And a lot of these distributor supplier relationships are built on like 20 plus year like friendships. And once those, sort of leave the workforce, how do you build that relationship with, you know, what's left essentially, because you don't want it to disappear. If anything, you want it to get stronger.
So, Emily, what challenges are you seeing with distributors, or had you seen before you started your new program? What challenges are you guys facing, and what have you heard from other industrial marketers and just things they're seeing?
Yeah, a little backstory. A few years before I joined CCS America, they had a sort of quote unquote distributor program. Kind of. It was really just, that discount, right? How much discount do we give on our products? And, you know, I think by the time I had come back, it had, steadily over time kind of, you know, not been maintained. So people or distributors who were still doing like a decent amount of business were maybe getting a higher discount than they warranted. Some were doing a lot less business and getting a higher discount than was warranted. And we realized that we needed to kind of reevaluate all our distributors. And then once we did that, how can we, increase the business with the ones that are maybe underperforming, or but we still see like there's plenty of business to do. There's like a relationship that's worth building here. How do we make the best distributors feel appreciated so they continue to sell our product more and more? Because the relationship can't rely on, the discount, responding quickly to RFQs and once or twice a year in-person meeting to, demo your new product. If those are your only touch points at any given time throughout the year, that's like leading to distributor apathy, I guess is a way to describe it. They'll call you when they, you know, need you, but the relationship isn't necessarily like strong enough beyond that.
Yeah, it's transactional, it sounds like. I mean, in that case versus, yeah, have something
Yeah. Versus
stronger.
like a collaborative partnership.
Yeah. So the idea was to prioritize the distributors that either you had great relationships with or had potential. And so aside from that, to revamp your distributor program, that's a lot of time and money to do that. Money really in people's time, right? But it could be other financial things. How did you guys justify that? Or was there already buy-in across the organization to do it?
This was, yeah, it was interesting because it was a case where there was buy-in from like leadership, sales, everybody. We kind of had known this was something we had to address. Like we knew it for a while, and it, those things in a small manufacturing company where this problem is like there, and like for some reason out of nowhere the stars align and it's just like the moment to finally address it. So
Yeah.
this happened to be our moment, and since it came from leadership, I think it,
Makes it so much
actually,
easier.
exactly.
Good. Well, so then you guys designed a new program. It sounds like it was a cross-functional team. What are some of the new aspects of the program that you're particularly excited about?
Yeah, I think, we kind of categorized it into different group settings. I think the one that probably matters most to marketing is the partnership opportunities that we're, still trying to expand even now. Actually, is like, how can we, not just do, you know, advertisements together with our distributors, but we're starting to build what we hope will be, good opportunities to
Yeah.
um, get in get in front of customers, or like for marketing to have a relationship with distributors as well. Another thing that's been, a big part of what we did this year is it was kind of like a separate priority, but also had overlap, was we were trying to, or we ended up kind of revamping our training program. A lot of revamping happened this year. So yeah, we kind of formalized the trainings we do, like the content that gets covered, depending on how extensive a customer could want it to be, we adjusted accordingly. And so we've started to do more and more of those types of trainings this year. And in a couple of cases, it involved like, either training a distributor's team directly or training one of their customers. So that's also helped build the relationship too.
Yeah, I bet when you're helping them make a customer successful, that's outstanding.
Exactly.
Going back to, so you said that you evolved from marketing tactics like just doing ads together to broader things. So how does that work? Do they pitch a campaign to you guys, or do you come up with a marketing campaign that they're a part of, or are you just doing multiple activities? Could you give a little more color to that?
Yeah, it's the funny thing is like we put it in to the distributor program as like something where we were like, we want to just say it exists, but we don't know the full, like what its final form is going to be. So it did start out with like a distributor would come to us and be like, hey, do you want to do advertising with us or whatever? But we're starting to explore, okay, like what can we do from our side to kind of increase that relationship. And it's funny to bring this up on a podcast. We started, doing a podcast of our own of sorts recently, and it's in its early stages. So we're, planning long term, like once we've done enough of these and built up its credibility a little bit more, we'll
Yeah.
invite, or we'll possibly invite, distributors to be guests on it as well. So we're looking forward to, hopefully, it goes according to plan, let's say.
Yeah. I know one of the big pain points that marketers have is we generate leads, we pass them to distributors, and then it's just a black hole. We have no idea what happened, where they qualified, what was the feedback, did they close? Is that a pain point? And if so, was that addressed as part of this new program overhaul?
Kind of. We aren't necessarily trying to quantify leads per se, but we want to be able to recognize a trend of like, are we in front of the distributor's customers more? is there like a greater sense of trust with our distributors? And, ultimately it would translate to more sales. So we can also, that is pretty like clear cut. We can
Yeah.
track and measure and see that reflected in our, monthly sales targets, and just like going customer by customer and seeing, oh, are they doing more business with us? Which I will say it's like not all the distributor program. I won't take 100% credit for it, but hopefully it's, influencing that trend.
Yeah. Okay. So, Emily, what are some valuable lessons you learned when you've designed this program, you launched it, it's cross-functional team, all this great work? What were some of your takeaways? What advice would you give to other marketers that are wanting to do something similar?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest takeaways for me was like getting feedback, like how to get feedback, the art of getting feedback. Like, I think this comes up in customer research also. It's like, what questions do you ask and how do you ask them? Because sometimes if it's too direct, you don't actually get a useful answer. And that's, I think, part of why this went so well for us, is that we executed that whole feedback process.
What did it look like? Was it interviews or surveys or focus group or phone calls?
It was mostly internal, so depending on the situation
Nice.
and the topic, we would like adjust even like the different styles. So it was kind of like all of the ones you mentioned. There was one-on-one, there were like focus groups, there was like whole team meeting, and that depended largely on like what we were debating,
Uh-huh.
how many things we were debating at once. But yeah, by adjusting that, I think it helped us get better feedback, and in a way it also helped like address certain fears or resistance that the sales team might have had, because distributors are like a big part of their success, like whether they meet their target or not. So there's understandably a lot of concern of like, if this doesn't go well, do I potentially lose like one of my biggest customers? So like letting them be a part of it, and like in some cases like one-on-one, like really getting into like, is this useful? What, like, why is this useful? Or like, what do we mean by that? But when we say that we want to offer this, because sometimes there was like confusion, and once the
Yeah.
confusion was resolved, they were like, oh, okay, I can see how this
No,
would be
we just need to
useful.
describe it a different way, but it's still a good benefit. Yeah. Interesting. Makes sense.
Yeah. So I think because we had that trust in place, when it, came time to like for them to actually like go to the distributors and say like, this is, something we're offering to you now, they they felt like more comfortable and confident, and like we had listened to them to build something worthwhile. Because I think marketing and communications and sales can both kind of like relate to this problem of, when there's a new product launch, you're both just given, here's the product, here's why R&D says it's great, go sell it. And both of us just have to like take that leap of faith, right? That the customers will want to buy it, or they'll see the value in it. But in this case, because everybody was sort of involved from like months before the thing actually got in front of our customers, it helped build trust in the whole program in advance. It wasn't like you have to build trust from launch. It was already there when
Yeah.
the launch happened. So that was really important. And I will like give an extra tip, because I think this is especially relevant, with this community. There's plenty of distributors in this industrial marketing community. So at one point I did, reach out to a distributor friend of mine who like wasn't in the industry, the same industry as me, but did work for a distributor, which if you don't want to like, we couldn't give our distributors like a spoiler alert that this was going to be launched. So I was like, but I want a distributor's perspective.
Mm.
So that's where this community really, was valuable to me, because I could go to somebody who, would understand or be able to see from our customers' perspective, our distribution customers' perspective, and say, was like this, do you see anything in here that you would not get value out of, or is there something that's not here that you think is valuable to have? And, going through that was also like reassuring to me, because that friend was like, no, a lot of this stuff is like great. And as long as you're like thinking of how to make it easy for the distributor, like don't make things harder for them, then this should all go well, or as well as it can. So that was also great.
What a fantastic way to use the industrial marketing community. I love that. I know we gave you and Jared a shout out at the Industrial Marketing Summit this past year for that very thing of collaborating. And like you said, you don't have to be in the exact same industry. There's industrial spans so much, from engineering to manufacturing. We have design to production. We have, all sorts of applications. And so you probably could have found 10 different people representing other things if you, had time was no object. But I thought that was great that you did that. And I admire, Emily, just how well you do at keeping in touch with the community. I know you're very active on LinkedIn. I've seen you at the Industrial Marketing Summit several times. So I think it's great. I think it's wonderful for your career and like you said, and gaining different perspectives. So I think that's fantastic. Exactly. And in part, that's why we're so excited to have you be a speaker at the 2026 Industrial Marketing Summit. And you're going to be talking on this very exact subject. And I have, let's see, your session title is How We Built a Distributor Benefits Program That Excited Everyone Involved. Everyone. That's a bold statement right there, Emily.
Yeah, I felt like I had to go hard, we talk about LinkedIn writing a good hook all the time, where it's just like I have to hook people in. Thankfully, I genuinely did feel that everybody within the company, but also our customers, they responded well to it. So hopefully I back up that title.
Oh, I'm sure you will. I absolutely have no doubt. So just as a little preview, what will attendees walk away with from your session?
Yeah, I mean, hopefully you're a supplier who does a lot in distribution. And I won't say that this will work for every supplier out there. I think you kind of mentioned it already. It's such a diverse industry. We sell a complex industrial component, essentially, that might not work for other types of components or for like CapEx equipment. But hopefully by listening to our story of how we reevaluated all of our distributors and decided as a team what we were going to consider like the high performers versus the low performers, and how do we award each of them differently in a way that we don't necessarily hurt anybody's feelings, but we also reward the people who have done well for us, and also encourage the distributors who we want to build a stronger relationship with. Hopefully they'll feel motivated to engage with us as well. So that, through our story, hopefully you'll get inspiration on like what you can apply in your own organization.
Awesome. So everyone go register for the Industrial Marketing Summit, and you can meet Emily in person March 3rd through 5th, 2026. But that's a little bit a ways away from now. So in the meantime, Emily, how can people get in touch with you and learn more about CCS America?
Yeah, you can follow me on LinkedIn. I'm open to, messages as long as they're not pitch slaps. I always love to talk with industrial marketers, share like our stories, our advice with each other. For me on LinkedIn.
Sounds good. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining me today on Content Marketing Engineered. For show notes, including links to resources, visit truemarketing.com/podcast. While there, you can subscribe to our blog and RA newsletter and order a copy of my book, Content Marketing Engineered. Also, I would love your reviews on this podcast. So please, when you get a chance, Subscribe and leave me your review on your favorite podcast subscription platform. Thanks and have a great day.